you so much for joining me today. So Ryan is the CEO of an amazing technology company called Adplorer or Adplorer US. Adplorer is a supplier of local marketing stacks for franchise brands. But I feel like that's so basic of me to describe Adplorer that way, Ryan. So I'd love to hear from your perspective, in your own words, what Adplorer is all about.
Absolutely. And thank you again for having me here. Happy to go through all this. So as an overview, we're a technology company. We originally started out in Germany, and then we expanded into some other European countries and eventually into the US in 2015. We primarily offer a tech stack for franchise brands to be able to manage and optimize and report on all of their digital advertising, all in one central platform. So manage all of their franchisee campaigns in Google, Facebook, Bing, Waze, etc., all from one central place.
That's so awesome. And it sounds like so intuitive and easy to use. Like just from your description, I'm like, oh, that sounds great. Like sign me up. What type of like media stack do you guys have? Can you go through that wheelhouse of what you provide?
Absolutely. So really the solutions we're trying to solve here for these franchise brands and agencies and partners of ours who support franchises and multi-location businesses. I mean, really the problems they're trying to solve is one, having brand consistency across every location. When you're a franchise of 10 locations, you might be able to manage all that with one person, but if you've got 100 locations or 1,000 locations, it gets pretty out of hand pretty quickly.
Yes.
So we provide tools to build out templated campaigns so that when franchisees want to launch new marketing initiatives, or if the franchisor wants to run, say, a seasonal campaign across all their locations, they can make sure that those campaigns and those ads and those keywords or creatives are all matching brand standards, not going outside of the boundary lines of colors or images that they're not allowed to use. So maintaining that brand consistency. And then additionally, other challenges that we solve and help out franchise brands and other multi-location businesses with is really refining those local campaigns in a scalable way. There's oftentimes the balance of you want to have a template campaign that's sort of the best possible campaign that applies to everyone, but you also still want to have some local refinements and add in some localizations to each of the campaigns because each market's a little bit different. And so our system provides that balance of saying, here's a campaign that's proven to work for all the locations across the board, but then also we can learn from all the locations. And we've got automatic algorithms that are going in and optimizing these campaigns and learning each day to say what's working in Dallas, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, Los Angeles, California, what's working in all these different markets, and how can we refine each of these campaigns in a scalable way so that a relatively small team can still manage a pretty large franchise or multiple franchise systems. And then the last thing, which is important for everybody, is reporting, making sure that you've got visibility into how these campaigns are performing. We'll link up with CRM systems, point of sale systems, really to try and do our best to connect the dots for these brands on how much are you spending on each of these different channels and how does that impact the bottom line? How is that getting more jobs on the books or more customers in the door or more signups for your business? And so that's really what we aim to do, and provide sort of a full stack of tools and customizations within the platform to make all those things happen.
That's awesome, Ryan. Thank you for giving us the total breakdown. I completely relate in how your approach is to make sure that brand voice is disseminated correctly throughout those campaigns. On our side, when we do digital business information management, kind of more on the organic and the listings and the profiles, that's something that's so important, right? You want to make sure that brand voice is the one that's elevated, because that's ultimately what what the brand is all about. That's the value prop. And that's part of the sales. And that's why we're pushing the messaging that we're pushing, right?
Mhm.
But something that you had said, which I thought was really awesome, is that even though you're running hyper localized specific campaigns to support, like, like let's say you're running a campaign in Hawaii versus one in Pennsylvania, they're going to look different, right?
Mhm.
But there might be some overlap of best practices that you can gain those learnings and implement across the board on all of the campaigns.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're looking at, say, a Google search advertising campaign for a plumber franchise, there
Hmm.
are there are just going to be a certain set of keywords and a certain set of ads that are just going to perform the best, regardless of
Yes.
where you're at. Now,
Yes.
there are going to be some localizations, obviously, and you have to customize the geo targeting and things like that. But it's something where you're going to pretty quickly find out these ads are great and these ads are not great, or these are the settings that are successful across the widest variety of franchise locations.
Hmm.
Another thing too that we'll make sure and input, and some franchises have this, others don't. But if there's any territory restrictions, let's say a brand has zip code territories that the franchisees are allowed to market within or advertise within. That becomes really important when you've got adjacent franchisees or you've got adjacent territories and you want to prevent overlap between the
Yes.
locations. So,
Yeah.
in addition to giving them a standard proven template to run campaigns from and localizing those campaigns for each of the local markets, we also want to make sure that we're not overlapping and we're not competing with ourselves. And so that's really where, all the different tools and support functions within the Adplorer system are all built
Mhm.
specifically to manage and to solve these problems for franchises.
So you don't cannibalize from each other, right? And steal each other's leads, and you're running at the same time. I think that's ingenious.
Mhm.
For us, specifically, when we've run campaigns like that and that are close in regions, we've even gone as far as asking the client of like, do you have specific service area? Like even just an Excel spreadsheet that we can base this off of. And a lot of times, from a corporate perspective, they just don't.
Mhm.
I think they figure all leads are good leads, but when you're investing at such a local level, it does become that something that's very, very important.
Mhm.
Um, that's fantastic. I wish you could give us a demo right now, right? So moving a little bit off of Adplorer, and I'm sure we'll come back to like the many amazing things about the technology as we go on through this conversation. But I'd love to talk a little bit more personal about your career, and how you ended up at Adplorer US. How did you become the CEO? What's really like the number one thing that you love about working at Adplorer, minus being in Atlanta where it's beautiful all the time. But yeah, if you could give me just a little bit about Ryan, that would be great.
Absolutely, would love to. So my connection to Adplorer is actually sort of a funny one. The company, like I mentioned before, originally started back in 2008, 2009 in Germany, and then expanded into the U.S. in 2015. I actually joined the company in summer of 2017, and the way I got connected was actually my brother-in-law was a franchisee of a daycare brand, and
Oh,
he
wow.
he knew I was looking for a new position, looking for a new role, and said, "Hey, why don't you check out these guys who help us out with our marketing?" So that's how I got connected to the company here, and really when I first started off, I did a number of different roles and positions, everything from account management, project management, implementation, business development. Really sort of worked a couple different facets within the company,
Mhm.
and then actually had the opportunity to step into the role I'm in now. And that was actually a really great opportunity where we were right in the middle of doing some rebranding and reshaping some of our core products and offerings. And so that's something that really timing just worked out, and kind of all the cards worked out in my favor, which was great. The one thing that did not work out in my favor was I started right as COVID started.
Oh no, I was gonna say like around what year was
It was,
that?
I,
But
I believe it was like February of 2020 is when I
oh man. And
took over
that's
the
rough.
position.
It's like hard starting a new leadership position anyway, but to
Mhm.
like start that during like a an outlier time period of
Mhm.
your life is that's
It
insane.
it definitely it
Yeah.
definitely shows you how you're gonna do very quickly within the company. Let's just say that.
Well, I'm sure you did fantastic. But how did you maneuver that? What was like the most challenging? I mean, from our perspective, there were some things that was kind of positive out of the pandemic, like structure wise, operational wise, and whatnot. So, what was your true experience, especially kind of entering in this new role for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that it's been a sort of a theme for our company for a couple of years now, where, you know, I mentioned we originally were a German company. We've got a couple offices in France and Poland and people in Spain and Sweden and all over the place. And, honestly, for a long time, we all sort of operated as independent companies
Yeah.
or independent offices. There was not that much overlap, and we even at one point had different brand names depending on which countries we were in. And so um, right as I was taking over and taking over responsibility for the Atlanta team and the US team here, we made a shift to consolidate down into one brand and really try to work to unify all the offices and unify our mission between all the offices. And so the pandemic, for all of the chaos that it caused in society and in the world, it did kind of give us a little bit of a clean slate to start working on, how do we operate as a global company, not just a US company and not just a German company and not just a French company, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that was, really productive for us. And, I have the opportunity to travel a bit and get to see our European friends, and they get to come over to the US quite a bit as well. And it's something where, prior to that shift, we might have been on the phone with them once a month or a couple of times a month, and now it's a daily basis. Pretty much every day we're going back and forth on projects and working together on things, and that really just strengthens the team as a whole, and means that we've got resources, um, much greater resources
Oh
globally
yeah.
than we do even just here in the U.S.
Individually. I think that that's awesome. I'm sure that you felt like there was a shift in culture as well of like, oh, it's not just our small but mighty team. It's
Yeah.
you can pull experiences from all parts of the globe
Mhm.
and it sort of reflects what your technology does too, which is like take learnings and best practices and implement that. I think that that's fantastic. It must have been really nice to get that support in your kind of newer role as well as you were kind of maneuvering where you fit as a leader.
Mhm. Absolutely. And it's something too where, you know, we do a lot of work with franchise brands over here in the US, but we also work with dealership groups and associations and a whole variety of multi-location businesses. And there's a lot of times where we might be talking to, say, a car dealership brand, and they've got multiple locations, and we can lean on our German team who works with VW, and we can say, hey, we've
Yeah.
got tons of experience with this. Like, this is how this would look in the system, with a pretty large reputable brand like VW. And so it's something where we can share insights, but we can also share client stories and share um, you know best practices where hey, if our French team needs a needs help working with a restaurant brand, it's like, hey, we have experience with that. We know what that's like.
Yeah.
So that really helps build a stronger team and share insights. Uh,
That's great.
yeah, absolutely.
That's fantastic. And how long have you been CEO now?
Gosh, since I think it's coming up on 3 years now.
3 years.
Yeah.
I always skip 2020.
Yeah, no, it was just a blur.
I really do. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't even know what happened. I mean, partially because like I bought a house, had a baby. Well, DSG obviously is going through
Mhm,
this transition from like print to full digital house,
mhm,
and I'm like, what? I don't even know. Let's just skip over that year, right?
absolutely. Yeah. Well,
So what? Oh,
there's
go ahead,
sounds
Ryan.
and time flies too. We look back and it's like, oh my God, it's
Yes.
been 3 years been in this role. So it's something that 2020 was a blur, but also looking back at it, there was also a lot of really good things that we learned and good things that we developed during that time period for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what has been the most enlightening as the leader of the Adplorer US?
Sure. I really think the thing that's been the thing that's really been sticking out for me, especially recently, is when we look at especially the franchise space, there's a lot of overlap between suppliers and there's a lot of marketing agencies within the space, and even just within the word marketing, and that can be social
Oh,
media, email, text messaging, paid advertising campaigns, PR. Like it's such a broad scope.
mhm.
And one of the things that we've been really focusing on is with our tool set, it's I think we've got something that is really truly special and
Right.
really unique in the marketplace. And it's something that we've been working really hard to position ourselves to say, okay, let's not use the broad term of just marketing because that can mean a lot of different things.
Yes. Yes.
We've had to learn and grow, and what's the like what are the sort of keywords and specific ways that we want to present ourselves to the franchising industry and to multi-location businesses to say this is the way to do multi-location advertising. Like this is the platform that you can plug everything in. If you've got one agency that's supporting your brand, or you have 10 agencies that are supporting your brand, you can connect everything all in one central system, and that's really a unique position for us, and it's something that I think is a big differentiator for us in the market.
I think that's awesome, Ryan. That's so insightful in the way that you describe your business. And when you said marketing is very general, I went back to this conversation I was having with my other colleagues about how digital is also very broad.
Hmm.
And like, so we've obviously coined our own services. Not a lot of people refer to it as digital business information or DBI. And one of the first pieces of feedback that we received was like, digital is way too broad. And we're like, well, I mean, profiles and data and everything pertaining to that is
Hmm.
very broad, but it definitely gets the wheels turning when you want to be very specific and relate to the common person that's maybe not like a marketer, right? Like,
Right.
how do you approach someone who knows how to run a dealership and runs it really well? And I mean, they're like, they have to worry about hiring, they have to worry about sales,
Right.
they have to worry about like the types of cars that are coming in. I obviously don't know how to run a dealership, but you don't want to get too broad in like, oh, we'll just do your marketing for you. Well,
Hmm.
what does that actually mean? And from the way that you described Adplorer just now of being um, like a lot more specific, it's a lot more relatable.
Hmm.
And I think that's a huge takeaway from our conversation is try not to be too broad because it can be confusing.
Absolutely.
Because there's a
Well, and
lot
it's
of like
something.
digital services, digital products, marketing products.
Mhm.
It can mean a variety of different things.
Absolutely, and it's something where, as much as we don't want to admit it, marketing is rocket science. Like at the end of the day, it really is rocket science what we're doing. But being able to organize that and present that and manage that in a way that makes sense to somebody who the third Tuesday of the month is my marketing hat day, and this is when I look at all my reports, like making it simple for those people. I mean, that's a huge challenge and a feat in itself.
Yes.
It's something where we want to take, the rocket science that is advertising for multi-location businesses and have the solution for brands in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. It's rocket science. So many people would argue there. But you make it so much more simpler with your technology.
It's something where we're managing the complexity of local marketing. I mean,
Yes.
that's really what I'd say we're built from the ground up to do. There's multiple different tools and features and functions within the system, but really our core is take all of your advertising campaigns, whether they be national or local or some hybrid of the two, plug them all into one central system so that, if you're the CMO of a franchise brand, if I was to ask probably 95% of CMOs today, how many of your franchisees are advertising right now? Could they answer that question? If I ask them, of the people that are advertising, how much are they spending? What do their returns look like? What types of campaigns are they running? Even just having that, I mean, that's something where we're taking something that is complex and we're compiling it all into one central place so that we are really kind of that golden list or that source of truth for them. Very similar to how you guys do it with digital business information.
That, I mean, if I was a marketer in corporate and I heard that, because I know we've talked to our marketing teams on the client side, and more often than not, they have no idea what's running at the local level. I've even gotten feedback that local marketing dollars have been spent on like birthday parties and things like that, which, hey, there's no problems with birthday parties, okay? But I think
Or
they would
if it's
probably.
a business trip on the Alaskan cruise, then that might
Oh
be
yeah, I guess that's
questionable.
true.
Yeah.
I'm more talking about like they spend like, $200 a month or like $200 a quarter on birthday parties as opposed to like that being valuable dollars that they could add to their marketing stack, right?
Right.
Or an Alaskan cruise.
Right.
But I think the insight and the purview into what's actually happening at the local level, that is like a complete unique value that you guys present. Absolutely. So what's really on the horizon, Ryan,
It's
of
a
Adplorer for
Yeah, it's a
you?
great question for us. We're actually right in the middle right now of rolling out a new product that is called Adplorer Horizon. And so,
No way. Oh my
yeah, so
God.
I love that question at the moment because, when people say, what's on the horizon? Well, Horizon's on the horizon for us. And really, what we're doing with that product is, we've got a whole bunch of tools and solutions in our platform right now that are geared towards kind of that agency user, that power user, the person who knows the rocket science of marketing. And we're really trying to package that specifically now for that franchise CMO and give the franchise CMO all the tools that they would need to have that top-down overview of, are all of my locations doing what they should be doing? Are they advertising the right areas? Are they advertising the right content? Who is advertising? Who's not advertising? Answering all those questions, but then also giving them the tools to say, hey, if you want to take money from your national ad fund and you want to run a 4th of July campaign special, or you want to do a co-op matching program for any of the locations. There's a whole bunch of different ways that we can help give that CMO the tools they need to manage that complexity of local advertising and do it all from one central place. So that's really what we've got on the horizon right now is building out solutions, building out tools specifically for that CMO position.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh, that was such a good jump from what we were just talking about And then also the keyword horizon, right?
Mhm.
I did not tee that up, by the way. But that's awesome. We'll look forward to more developments regarding that. Really cool, Ryan. So I was trying to rack my brain on how DSG and Adplor's partnership really came to be. I think our EVP Dean had met one of the like leadership guys in from Europe,
Mhm.
perhaps, and then
Yeah,
that's how you and I got connected, right?
yeah, I believe Dean and Joe
Joe,
Schultz from our
yes.
team go back a bit, and it's one of those things where at some conferences like Locology, people from our team like Joe are saying, "Hey, find Dean from DSG and find the DSG guys while you're there, and he'll shoot him a text." And so, I think the connection was inevitable between our two companies
Yes,
here.
yes, absolutely.
And it's I think it's been something really really great where while we're not competitors by any sense of the word, it's something that we're definitely complementary
Yes,
to each other, and it's something where when you guys are working with brands and trying to help them clean up their digital business information, like you guys are experts in that, and really that's your bread and butter, and you have a whole bunch of other white glove services that can complement that, which is incredible. And we come in and we can help manage the advertising across the whole brand and all the locations, and that's something where those two things like they have to coexist
yes,
for brands to be successful. Like you can't have one without the other, and if their digital business information is terrible and disorganized, then their advertising is probably not going to perform very well. And if their
yes.
advertising is terrible, then it's not going to help out with the digital business information cleanup that you guys have been doing for them. So it's really a great complement between the two companies.
I agree wholeheartedly, Ryan. Oftentimes when I speak to some of our partners, they're like, "Man, if you don't have DBI and that all buttoned up, the value of the paid campaigns are just not up to par."
Hmm.
So I love talking about DBI as that baseline. And to your point, they can coexist with each other. It doesn't have to be the chicken or the egg. I think it's important to have both sides buttoned up. And I think from a like if we start some sort of hyper local paid campaign on top of the DBI, like Adplorer is the technology to handle it.
Hmm.
If you don't have a technology like this for a franchise brand, and I think just from your description of your value prop, I can imagine the risk of not having that technology, of like it just being all over the place. Like you don't really know where that local investment is going. The branding is all over the place. It's completely disorganized.
Hmm.
And the same thing can be said on the DBI side. If you don't pay attention to it, it can kind of be more of a chaotic world for your brand. And ultimately, people that are searching for either your brand or your services are not going to find you. Or if they do find you, it's not going to be accurate.
Right, right, and the entire business model of franchising is finding scalable ways to replicate success across every location in the system,
Mhm.
and that starts with the foundation of you got to make sure that like everything's cleaned up on your website, on your listings, on your social profiles. You have to make sure that you have what's the marketing playbook? What is the official way that you're going to give new franchisees or new units in the system that playbook of success? And if you don't have that playbook or you have a loose interpretation of that playbook, then you're probably going to have inconsistent results across your network. And the brands that really get it and the brands that are successful and have grown to national success and even international success, those are the ones that have this thing down to a pretty formulaic result to say this is what you
Yes.
do and this is how you be successful, and the people that follow that within the system are the ones that are the star performers.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And the longer, even if it's like a baseline investment, but the longer you're involved in your marketing and there's a pulse on it, especially through using Adplorer, the better it's going to be. So
Mhm.
I think that's fantastic. So speaking of success, I'll switch gears here. I wanted to know, Ryan, what is the one thing that you do to set up yourself for success each day?
Sure. I think there's a number of things, but um, one of my secret weapons is actually my wife Katie. She actually works for us here at the company, and she's a rock star, and so a lot of times if I need to get a second opinion on things, or if I need to review even an email that I'm trying to send someone, I'll bring over Katie a lot of times. So she's my secret weapon, kind of behind the scenes, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's really just giving people the opportunity to be great at what they're great at, and the parts where maybe they're not so great, let's figure out ways to work through that and work around
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
There's a really great um, it's sort of a personality test, but it's more geared towards work, and we actually make all of our employees take this test, and it really identifies what are the things that they're naturally gifted in, and what are the things that they're competent in, and what are things that are a struggle for them. And it's not to say that they're bad at those things, but it's to say if this was what you were doing all day long, it would frustrate you. And really just
Mhm.
understanding kind of everybody's dynamics and understanding how to go through and give people tasks that they're going to be successful with, and give people projects that they can collaborate with others on, and be
Mhm.
successful in. Just understanding that, and understanding that on a daily basis, I think is really key to success, and key within our team.
Mm. I think that's really interesting. I know a number of agencies when I kind of worked in big pharma, they would make everyone take like the Myers-Briggs
Hmm.
or something like that. I actually, like in my previous lifetime, I worked at a organizational psychology consulting firm in which they made all of the leaders that they would be coaching take the Myers-Briggs. But I absolutely see the value of at least getting a baseline of, okay, just based on these results, I know that I can put you here and you're going to love what you do. And then I know that these are the things that we just need to work on. And this person I know you can partner with, great.
Hmm.
And this person, you guys are like, we'll just put you on opposite ends of the office.
Well, and it's something it really applies to every facet, where it might even be, if we're in a brainstorming planning meeting, where am I brainstorming like kind of wonder imagination people? Those are the
Yeah.
people I want in the room. And then, once we've decided, okay, this is how we're going to move forward, and then we're actually in the implementation, I'm usually one of those people who's thinking, okay, where are we going to be in the next, X amount of months or years? And I'm
Which I
always
think is very appropriate for your role. Yes.
I'm that's the way that my mind works. And so there are times where I'll be in these meetings where it's like, okay, we're just trying to get this thing across the finish line, Ryan. We don't need to reinvent the
Yeah.
wheel here. We just need to get this thing across the finish line. And so
Yes.
understanding, those dynamics across myself, and understanding those dynamics across the team, and then really putting that into practice, whether it be meetings or to-do lists, or um, emails or projects, whatever that might be. All those things, I think that's what makes us a successful team. And that's something that I try to recenter myself on, orient myself on. I've got a little cheat sheet actually to my right here of like all of our team members and like their scores on these things.
Yeah. I think in a way, I've been thinking a lot about tolerance of like how, maybe if you didn't understand like your team so well, so I'm sure just working with them in general and like changing your own style and adapting to their needs, but also being able to tolerate of like, okay, I know you're really, really creative and you're not structured. And that's okay because I'm going to use you here. But in meetings that are a lot more structured, I can be more understanding of your perspective.
Hmm.
That's awesome. And that's like a mark of a true leader to understand everyone's communication styles and where they fit best.
Absolutely.
I think from my perspective, what I've been trying to do a lot is just listen and let my team of experts sort of fly with what they need to fly with. I think in the earlier days of coming on to DSG, I want to be the first person to say something in the room, like whether that be more of like from a pleaser perspective of like, oh, I really, I just want this to be structured in this way.
Mm-hmm.
And over the last few years, I found more success in saying, okay, here's what this meeting's about. How do you guys want to start? Or who has the first idea? Or this is not something that I have a good background in, so I'd like for so and so to take the stage. And by doing that, it not only empowers the team, but it allows their skill sets to grow more in a faster pace, I would say, than if I was kind of trying to do everything for everybody.
Right. Right. And understanding, these are the things that I excel at, and these are the things I don't excel at, or these are the
Yes.
things that, like I said earlier, I can do some of these things, but it will frustrate me in the long run if I do them all day long and all the time, and really finding, what is that mixture, and where are the strengths that I can lean on with our team, and where are, places that we need to improve on, and what are things that, we can waste less time on or spend more
Oh,
time on. That's
yeah.
a huge part of it as well.
Yes. Oh, that's such a good point. And I don't want to discount your first point about having Kate as your secret weapon. I totally appreciate that. I've met her personally and she's wonderful. And she's like the yin to your yang.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like you guys work so well together. I have to compliment you because if my husband and I work together, I don't know what would happen. He's a lawyer and has a like completely different brain in some
Mhm.
aspects than I do. And that's what makes him a really good lawyer. And you know, there are certain aspects of me that make me a really good marketer, but I
Mhm.
have to compliment you. That was very humbling of you to say that Kate's your secret weapon.
It was a funny thing how it came to be. It was
Yeah.
one of those situations where I actually had already been at the company for a little bit of time, and Katie was between jobs, and we had some part-time work, and so we said, hey,
Yeah.
do you want to just do a little bit of a
A
side
little bit.
project for us here? Well,
That's how it starts.
it started that way, and then she just absolutely crushed it and was like, can you stay and do more of this? And then eventually was like, oh, she's actually really good at this. And so
That's
it's one of
awesome.
those things where she's much smarter than I am, and I give a lot of
Oh,
credit to her. She's definitely a backbone of, a lot of the work and operations that we do here. And so it's great to have that reliable of a team member, but also
yeah.
somebody who, I can know and trust, and make sure that I can get an honest opinion from a lot of times too, which is needed.
That's so priceless
Mhm.
too. Like you don't want yes people around you constantly, right?
Tells me
You
no a
want
lot, so I'm good on that front.
you want the truth tellers, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
And I'm sure Katie is. Well,
Absolutely.
bravo, Katie. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for your time. It's been so fantastic to
Yeah, this
speak
is
with
great. Thank
you.
you.
I know I learned a little bit more about Adplorer. I'm so excited about the Adplorer for Ryzen. So obviously keep us posted on that. And I'm thrilled to continue DSG's partnership with you guys.
Absolutely. No, we're lucky to know you guys and work alongside you guys on different initiatives and projects. And just want to thank you again for this time here. And stay tuned, Q1 of this year, for some things on the horizon, as we like to say. And we'll definitely be, letting everybody know, the moment that thing is rolled out, we'll be uh, we'll be working on some fun things. Just stay tuned. Let's just say.
Oh, perfect. Sounds great. Thanks, Ryan.
Awesome, Paige. Thank you again.